Big developments coming in from the Apex Court, where Baba Ramdev has in fact arrived. The hearing related to the misleading advertisements case by Patanjali is currently underway in the Apex Court of the country. Earlier itself, the Supreme Court had posted Patanjali's misleading ads case for hearing today itself. And meanwhile, this case has been pending for quite a while after being raised by the Indian Medical Association. The court had earlier, of course, wrapped Patanjali as well as Baba Ramdev over their statements and their remarks and their apology that they had issued as well, stating that the law of the land is applicable to everyone. They also, in fact, pulled up the Uttarakhand government's licensing authority in a previous hearing as well on the 16th of April. And currently, the hearing is underway. Proceedings are underway. The Supreme Court has in fact raised the matter of Patanjali now publishing advertisements seeking and in fact stating that they are apologizing for what has transpired. The Supreme Court has asked whether the apology is the same size, whether it is equivalent to the advertisements that they are posing. Additionally, they have also, in fact, sought a clarification from the Union of India for letters issued by it as well, and have also, in fact, pulled up the IMA as well. My colleague Ayush Sharma joins on the broadcast to share further details with regards to the developments that are taking place. Ayush, what is happening inside the court? What has been observed by the justices?
Well, yes, Priya, the biggest breaking news which is coming right now is that Supreme Court will now hear this matter on the 30th of April at the end of this month, and Baba Ramdev and Acharya Balkrishna both have to be present at the Supreme Court in front of the honorable bench on that particular day also. And the most important part of the today's verdict is that Supreme Court stated that Baba Ramdev and Patanjali Private Limited have to issue another public apology in a newspaper with a bigger size than that of the last one, and they have to highlight the word that they are publicly apologizing. This particular word has to be highlighted in that particular ad of apology in any regular national newspaper. And as per these, and coming to the center point of view, the Supreme Court told center government, quote unquote, that they have to tell what the advertising council did against such advertisements and whether the members also supported such products. This is a very big statement of Supreme Court against the center government. The Supreme Court has always been on a stricter note when it's come to such misleading ads, and has always asked the center government in the previous hearings that what they have done in such a matter since 2019, and in the phase of corona where the world was filled with misleading ads and WhatsApp messages. Now the Supreme Court stated that the members are prescribing medicines of the center government. The kind of coverage the Supreme Court have seen are looking at children,
are you still on with us? Because we also have Advocate KV Dhananjay joining us on the broadcast this morning. Good morning, sir. Thank you for joining us on NewsX. Now, this matter has been, of course, the proceedings have been underway for quite a while now. The next hearing posted on the 30th of April, with the Union of India now being under the scanner of the Apex Court. Earlier itself, the Supreme Court had wrapped Baba Ramdev and Patanjali over their apology. Now that they have published advertisements, the court has asked them to cut the actual newspaper clippings and keep them handy. The court has in fact also pulled up the petitioner, that is the IMA, over several complaints that have emerged with regards to their alleged unethical conduct, and have also called for affidavits to explain action taken on misleading acts. Now, the discourse regarding allopathy and versus Ayurveda is going on the side, and the Apex Court has stressed upon the need to, in fact, address the fact that everyone is equal before law. Where do you see this going next? Do you think, as how the Supreme Court had pulled up the government of Uttarakhand, the licensing body of Uttarakhand, they're likely to do so with the Union of India as well?
Well, it's, I think, important to note that the problem or the malaise is so big. What the Supreme Court has just done and in fact has been doing in the Patanjali case, I think is a small drop in an ocean, because the problem of misleading advertisements is rampant both within Ayurveda and of course within allopathy. And the Indian Medical Association, by the way, has itself so much to answer on, so on the various practices of its members. So the best way to understand this proceeding is some good will come out of it if Baba Ramdev and his company is penalized, because they bring a bad name to Ayurveda. At the end of the day, it's important to note that there are so many people in this country that swear by Ayurveda, not because they've received great advertisements about Ayurveda. It's because they've seen their fathers and forefathers and previous generations rely on it. Because medicine at some level is also anecdotal, right? Because the English medical system is also anecdotal. You have a blockbuster drug that's patented and that's released into the market, and 10 years later it is withdrawn because they found out too many side effects and then, deaths coming within that 10-year period. So Ayurveda, I think Patanjali happens to be a bad boy, in some respects in Ayurveda. And I think the Supreme Court going hard on Patanjali is not something to really oppose, because they found out that they were in fact giving misleading advertisements. And I'm very sure if the court were to invite affected people within the country to come and then, talk to the Supreme Court, there would be so many people filing applications and pointing out their individual instances of tragedy and all that, because they relied on these misleading advertisements. So it's important that the court, takes things to a further logical conclusion and either gets Patanjali to come out with bigger advertisements so that they could tell the people that Ayurveda is of course trusted, but then the claims made by Patanjali were misleading because those claims were not tested actually to any rigorous standard. Having said that, I think it also is time for the court to take up the case of the Indian Medical Association, because, the petitioner before the court has painted itself as some great, crusader of public interest or public health, but that's really not the case. You find rampant kind of commercialization and rampant fleecing of the public, even by the allopathic drug companies. There are so many cases in the Supreme Court about how stents that in fact should not cost more than 5,000 or 8,000 are charged at 2.5 lakh, 3 lakh, and that is also made possible by the regulatory agencies giving them actually a free hand, just as how the regulatory agencies in Dehradun, in this case, actually gave a free hand to Patanjali. The allopathic regulatory agencies are also doing the same actually with respect to allopathic companies. So I think it is important to see this case as in a holistic way rather than as something that is just beating up Baba Ramdev. That's not the scope of this case at all. And the judges in this panel basically are not their previous judgments actually show so much of concern for public interest and public health. So it would be wrong to narrow down this particular bench as hitting upon Patanjali. It's entirely possible that after next hearing, they might broaden the scope of this hearing to take up actually malpractices within the allopathic sector. So I think that's a way to look at it.
Indeed, and you've spoken about how this case is in the interest of the public. This is something that the Supreme Court has in fact reiterated today itself and stated that they are not here to gun for a particular agency, but this is a PIL in the interest of the public, and it is a part and process of the rule of law. I'd like to thank you, Advocate Dhananjay, for joining us on the broadcast. I'd also like to thank my colleague Ayush Sharma for joining us live, sharing all those details. But
for more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.